Well, good afternoon. My name is Ken Hoagland, and I'm chairman of repealitnow.org. And today I've brought 535,000 petitions signed by citizens from every corner of the nation. They are distressed that this legislation was enacted over their objections. They see that as a bedrock principle of our country, the consent of the governed. That did not take place with this legislation. I don't think anyone here would disagree that there are problems with our health care system. But those problems must be addressed and solutions must be found that have the support of the American people, not despite the consent of the governed. We intend to raise so many petitions that after the House takes its historic action, we will move on to the Senate. All those who say that this is a symbolic vote have not read the Constitution or understand the true role of the American citizen in directing their own government. That is why this country was founded in the first place. Not just the principle of a limited government, but a principle of government that gets its powers from the consent of the governed. We fully intend to take as many as 10 million petitions by this summer to the Senate and use other grassroots tactics that put such pressure on the Senate that they will remember their pledge and their oath to faithfully represent the true beliefs of their constituents. This is an example to the rest of the world how even dramatic change in public policy can be effected through peaceful means. There is no room in our country for violent tactics to change public policy. Our founding fathers left us every tool we need to change public policy peacefully, and that is what we intend to do. Now, are the people who signed this petition angry? Yes, they are. Is that anger inappropriate? I want to say against this national dialogue that perhaps it is not. Millions of Americans lost trillions of dollars in savings, retirement accounts. They've seen the value of their houses go upside down. They've seen legislation enacted that they did not approve of. Of course, American citizens are angry. To suggest that that axiomatically leads to violence is just a wrong conclusion. We have effected change throughout the history of the country, and it is often accompanied by passion and even anger and bitter disappointment with the actions of our elected officials. I helped lead the campaign in 1989 to repeal the Catastrophic Care Act. Then, like now, everyone said this is impossible to overturn. It will never be changed or repealed. Dan Rostenkowski and the late Senator Lloyd Bentsen vowed that only a vocal minority wanted to change a seniors-only tax with that legislation. 11 months after passage, only a handful of House members and senators voted against repeal. That is the model that will happen again, and it's going to happen not at the hands of the Supreme Court, which will almost undoubtedly rule against the constitutionality of this new law. It will happen most properly at the behest of the American people. I want to thank Mr. King, Mr. Boehner, Mr. Cantor, the leadership in the House. I want to thank the members behind me. I want to thank the Tea Party patriots. I want to thank all those who have signed this petition who are in the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, the Tea Parties, or no party at all, for remembering that citizens have a role in between elections to direct their government. And that's what we intend to do here today. So thank you for all of those who are behind me, who are restoring the reputation of this chamber as the People's House. And thank you all for coming out today.
Thank you, Ken. It's my privilege to make the introductions of the members that we have behind us, and I've been particularly looking forward to this. When Obamacare passed in late March, I was exhausted from the battle, as were many, and I went home thinking I would sleep a long time to get rested up. Well, it lasted about 2.5 hours, and I woke up and drafted a request for a bill draft to repeal Obamacare and introduced that at the opening of business the next day. It came down in just a short while. That was 40 words. And here's what happened. The exact same 40 words came down to Michelle Bachmann within 3 minutes. And we were not working in concert with each other, except we were just so philosophically in tune that we were doing the same thing at the same time. We've joined together on issue after issue. She stood here around this Capitol and led the charge in opposition to Obamacare. She's been a significant component in this all along and a co-leader in the effort. The discharge petition that unfolded from this and the point we are today, and many of the members standing behind me and others that are in the House today, we wouldn't be where we are without all their efforts. But I want to introduce and I want to thank Michelle Bachmann publicly for what she's done to take the leadership on this in the fashion that she did. 3 minutes apart, the exact same 40 words as if it had never been enacted are the last words of those 40. Michelle?
Thank you, Steve. Thank you very much. Well, tomorrow is the day that we begin to undo the damage of the government takeover and control of health care in this country, and it couldn't come a moment too soon. Already with Obamacare, we're seeing private insurance premiums increase at a rate that we have never seen before, and we're seeing more restrictions as they begin to be rolled out. Just on the plane coming in today, I was with someone who was with one of the top 300 companies in the United States shake their head and say, while the entire debate, if that's what you want to call it, was going on with Obamacare, they came in trying to talk to those who were in power, which, as we know, were Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi, and Barack Obama. And this woman told me she had never seen such arrogance and such closed-mindedness on the part of the administration. They weren't interested in what employers had to say. They weren't interested in what the public had to say. The public is speaking now. And Ken Hoagland has rightly stated that we have well over 500 petitions. This is the consent of the governed that is speaking out now for the first time. And the new majority in the House of Representatives intends to stand squarely behind the American people. The American people have said no to expansive government. They've said no to high costs associated with government taking over one private sector industry after another. And so that's what we're going to do. It is step one, phase one, beginning tomorrow, but it's a journey that you will see a strong, committed House conservative majority stand behind. We aren't going to just check the box off and say that we've had one vote and we're going to move on to other topics. We're staying full square behind the repeal of Obamacare and our commitment to defund it going forward. So thank you for coming today.